Well, the Vietnam Wall, the memorial, is a very powerful symbol of what that war was all about and the people that we lost. On the honor flight, I was standing there with another man, General Gorham, looking at the name of Lieutenant Commander Stan Olmsted, who was the pilot of my F-4 when we were shot down. My name is Porter Halyburton. I was a prisoner of war in North Vietnam for 2,675 days. We arrived in Vietnam in the summer of 1965. I flew about 75 missions, and on our 76th mission, I was flying with Lieutenant Commander Stan Olmsted, who I thought was the best pilot in the squadron, and we had flown a lot together. And on this mission, we got hit by anti-aircraft fire before we got to the target. And we took a hit right in the front cockpit. And Stan was killed immediately, and I was, my helmet, my oxygen mask was blown off, and it was a really pretty powerful explosion. When I ejected, nobody heard any radio transmissions, nobody saw my parachute, and so I was declared killed in action. And so Marty was a widow with a young child. Thinking I was dead, she had a tombstone made and put it in our family plot in Davidson. And when I finally came back to Davidson for the first time, I found out that I had a tombstone. The Vietnamese tried to keep us all separate, and they did not allow us to talk to one another or communicate in any way. Well, at the very end of my experience, or right before we were to be released, I realized that I had built up a huge hatred for the Vietnamese, my captors, and I knew I couldn't take that home with me. And so when I walked through the gates of the Hanoi Hilton, I thought for the last time, I turned around to that building as a symbol, and I said, I forgive you. And all that hatred fell away. This armor that I had built up, which was protective of me, it fell away, and I walked out of 2 prisons that day. After we were released, we flew on to Jacksonville, Florida, where Marty and Dabney were waiting for me. This was the end of a very long journey, you know, and it was the most wonderful thing. It was a thing that I'd been dreaming about for so long. I'd written poetry about it, and seeing her and being with her was the most joyous moment in my life. And of course, many, many years later, I went on this honor flight to Washington, D.C. And when we came back we landed in Greensboro and came walking out, and again, there was this sea of humanity, all with signs and welcoming and everything, and it just brought back the same kind of emotions. It was incredibly overpowering to be welcomed in that way. I think these honor flights are so important because it lets veterans go back to Washington, D.C. and to see all the monuments to the various wars they have fought in, to be with other veterans and this incredible group of people is really overwhelming. And I just think it is a wonderful thing for veterans